Welcome to the Creative AI Show. What do we have this week, Bryon?
Hey Rosh, happy to be here. Happy to be heard a little better. Maybe we upgraded some equipment.
I did too. We both have the exact same mic now,
Yep.
and that's wonderful. Unfortunately, I sent the cords to the
Yeah.
studio, and I've been homesick all week. So
Okay.
we'll
Yep.
put this one off to the side until next week. We will get everything together. And hey, I want to give a big thanks to Tony, who let us know, one, who suggested doing something like this to improve our audio, because he really
Right.
likes
Right.
the show. Tony
Okay.
out in
Thank you, Tony.
Montana. And he also mentioned that we had about, I don't know, 18 minutes of dead air at the end of the podcast. So I fixed that. So he's active. He's
Did he
listening.
listen to all 18 minutes of dead air? That's what I want
He
to know.
did. He wanted to make sure it was exactly 18 minutes before he emailed me. So, no, but thank you, Tony, and thank you for listening to the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, here we are.
Yeah, we are two creative guys talking AI, and we're going to mention a term today that's probably going to be the first time that a lot of our listeners hear this term, but definitely not the last time, and that is being an AI director. And Rosh and I, we're going to speak to that a bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like when you hear it's like, of course, that's exactly what it's going to be.
Right,
But it's not. These terms are not being used right now. We're
right.
actually very often. I mean, we're not saying we invented this, and not at
Hmm.
all. But this is the right way. I think that it's going to be presented in the future as a job title, and there are variations of that, and that's what we'll get into.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a good back and forth on that. And then also, I've done a couple trainings with my creative team, us here at Great Scott. We've got, 7 or 8 employees, and I realized that every one of these trainings, it's more and more me training them and empowering them to use AI. So I want to speak to that to any creative, directors that we have out there listening on ways that they can get their team kind of up to speed. What
Absolutely.
else do you have going on?
I want to talk about really finally, we have a way to really get the image. It's a process to get
Mhm.
the image that you're looking for through AI. And it's actually an AI we've not talked a lot about, but they've really stepped up the game. So we'll get into that.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to learn about that because I certainly hit a brick wall in terms of my AI production capabilities where I tried to get it to create an image and I told it, I'm like, think like a human, look like I do. And I want to have this view, and I'll get into it quickly here. So I wanted an image, but I wanted it to look like what it would look like for me if I were to partially close my eyes. So, those
Oh,
eyelids
yeah.
coming in. And
Right.
every single time it would create an image, and I'm primarily dealing with Chat GPT here, it would be like the camera was turned around on my face so I could see the outside of the eyelids and stuff.
Right.
Still the image in there. And I was just like, I'm like yelling at the computer. I'm like, why can't you see it like I would see it? And it was like, I'm sorry, Bryon, I am not a human and I don't see this way. So I literally explained to it. I was like, well, it's kind of like the field of view is narrowing and there's a blurred on the top and bottom and some darkness. I actually explained to the computer what it was like to be human and blink my eyes. And it said to me, I'm sorry, I just can't create this image. And I said, well, then suggest to me some other programs that could. And it did. It suggested Midjourney and a few other ones.
Sure.
And then it followed it up with a pretty good prompt to use for some of these other programs.
Nice.
So I ended up coming up with the solution through different creative means in my video editing side of things, where there was actually a thing in there to kind of replicate what it would look like to have eyes blinking. Because
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to symbolize going back and forth between a dream world and visualizing
Oh,
that
okay.
in a dream. And at first I thought I would just have GPT make an image and then I could have Runway or a video program like my video editing actually show the eyelid opening and shutting. So but while I was doing this and making this music video for, and actually I'm the lame guy here today wearing the shirt of my own band. I'll call myself
It's
out
not
on
lame. It's called
that.
smart promotion.
Yeah, a little smart promotion, a little cross promote. We're gonna have our second single from our upcoming album coming out this Friday. So I've been hard at work being the director of this music video, and it's a perfect transition into our first speaking point here of being an
Yeah.
AI director. So, Yeah, this term, and Arash, I really appreciate you reaching out to me earlier this week and just kind of letting me know that, hey, this might be a term that really would benefit our audience from hearing about, and that they're going to hear it a lot going forward. But it might be something that they might want to start sneaking in on their resume or start,
Yeah.
telling people that they're doing. What do you know about AI directors? What do you have?
Yeah, obviously when you hear it intuitively, it's like, oh yeah, of course. I mean, duh, AI director. But we've heard. I really did some Googling and I did some searching, and there's not a lot,
Yeah.
especially for creative AI director, which I'll get into in a moment. But there is director of AI. You're starting to see that kind of pop up into maybe
Hmm.
some big agencies or big companies. I've even photographed a guy recently. He was the director of AI at a company. But that's
Great.
more of somebody who's taking over the department.
Hmm.
What he's directing are the AI directors, the people who are actually doing the work with the AI, who are partnering with AI. So a creative AI director is somebody who is working. They may have a specialty. Maybe it's photo. Maybe it's video. Maybe it's certain types of copy, or who knows. I mean, there are a lot of different things that it could be, multimedia kind of work. But an AI director is who is going to take the job. People are worried that AI is going to take their job. No, the person's going to take your job is the AI director.
Right.
And that's what's going to be important to understand in the future. And there's going to be a lot of them. Now, and that AI director is going to direct a lot of people, or excuse me, a lot of AIs to that will replace jobs, of course. But there will be more types of AI directors out there. And that's what's interesting, is that these AI directors are going to continue, to develop over time, different types of AI directors, specialty AI directors. And being a part of that now, I think, is going to be really important. What do you think, Bryon?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think, top level, there's going to be an overall AI director, kind of an implementer. And that's where it's going to start with a lot of companies. So what their job is going to be is to come in and look at the overall process of a company in general and find ways that they could interject AI to streamline these workflows. And ultimately, what that's going to do is enhance the output of whomever, whatever employee is not, previously using that, and get a better, more consistent, AI output. So they're going to be the ones implementing it across the board, and then kind of directing their sub-directors of AI in each individual department. But also, there's going to be some other things on their plate. For example, the ethical or legal concerns
Yeah.
of putting this AI in, and that's going to be a pretty
Legal
heavy.
AI director, social
Yeah,
AI director. I mean,
right, right. Yeah, it's not, each individual department, yeah. So, but their job is really going to be also to work cross departmentally
yeah,
and get the business people to be talking to the creative people the right way and bridging those gaps to make sure that everyone is, pulling the boat the same way at the same time. But yeah, I mean, so speak, maybe to one of the, in the creative direction then, Rosh,
sure. Well, here's the thing: is that AI and the AI director will also be making the choice whether to use AI or not.
hmm
Sometimes you need a person to do the work, or you prefer, or you have somebody a certain style, and you'll decide: will you use, human content development here and AI there?
hmm
A combination of those things. How will those work together? You will be the person making those choices, and ultimately it is about the choice. And I've often I keep using digital photography as the example because I think it's just because I lived through that when we went from
hmm
analog to digital. Everybody just, here's the thing. We had a comment on our YouTube video, and you could tell where someone's heart was coming from when they said, well, that, you didn't bring that person to life, that there's no, it just, I'm actually going to do a video on this because basically they were saying there's no heart and soul in this and nobody will care. And it's like, that's coming from the same spot as those people who said digital isn't really photography either. You
Right.
know, it's and now, and I bet that person uses digital, for a
Well,
lot
and
of
I
things, or
think of it.
Photoshop, or some kind of design, or whatever they do, because it
Yeah.
sounds like they're creative. They're using some kind of electronic something that somebody, I look. I'm old enough to remember doing putting newspapers together by hand and cutting things out and laying them out by hand. So, there's always progress, and you can be part of that progress and understand how to use the new tools, or you can be completely left behind with your arms folded saying
Yeah.
that's not real.
Right. And I mean, I feel like, there's beauty in automotive racing. All right.
Sure.
So then this guy is saying, no, we will only run forever. And, only
Yeah.
running is the acceptable form of transportation. Whereas, no, we now have F1 cars that can move at incredible speeds. And you know what? These F1 drivers that are using these machines are artists in what
Yeah.
they do. And
Yeah.
think the same thing, with a F-35 airplane or anything like that. That's the peak level of technology, but you still need someone directing it, and it's an art form in what it is that they're doing.
Especially on the commercial side. But, there are painters that we love, and my wife and I just bought a photograph from a photographer who used 35 millimeter film to
Yeah.
create the image. And this person is an art director at an agency, but he loves to do film. And he took a beautiful photograph that we liked and he had it for sale. And my wife said, I really want that photograph. And so he bought it.
Yeah.
And that's so to say, just for the same reason some people prefer, albums, listening to albums. I don't think the tape is going to come back too soon, but the album, the
Yeah.
discs are going to be around for, people are going to like that. The 35 millimeter film, I've even considered putting a darkroom back in my basement. I mean, just because there's some nostalgia to it and there are choices to be made along the way
Right.
for those types of work.
But to be wholly, against it and just say, hey, this has no soul, this has no nothing, is just, you're kind of turning into that get off my lawn perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
And, speaking of being an AI director, I consider myself to be the AI director of my company, Great Scott
Yes.
Social Media. And it
Right.
leads into my second point I wanted to talk to today. Actually the employee who's of ours who's actually going to be listening to the show because she creates our social media content. I had a whole meeting with her about.
Oh, is she forced to listen every week?
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Half forced, half half compensated. But yeah, she
what'd she
listens.
do?
But, no, she actually has come up to me and said, "Hey, I've got a couple ideas," and she's been empowered by listening to our show
Nice.
to go in and help her or her mom. They have a commercial real estate endeavor where she might be building, maybe a pretty basic Wix kind of based website. Might go WordPress, but I was like, "Hey, have a conversation with ChatGPT about this,
Yep.
and say, hey." And then, actually provide ChatGPT the URL of the old website, the one that was made 20 plus years ago. So it gets an idea of what information is on there and needs to be, given on the new one. And then
Right.
give a few URLs of some new websites that inspire you. And then have a conversation with it and say, hey, what direction do I need to go if I were to be an amateur at this, but try to pull this off for, and she's just trying to help her mom here. And,
Yeah.
so this is a perfect example of somebody who she's already on our team. So she's a creative, she's a good writer, she's a great graphic artist, but she's like, you know what? I have these tools at my disposal. How can I use them? And then because she listens to our show each week, she just asked me to have a half an hour meeting earlier today of, hey, how can I try to do this? So it felt really good to empower her to, kind of say, hey, this whole conversation that you're having with me is great, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you for respecting that you want to talk with me about this. But listen, you've got this tool here that is PhD level that knows the whole internet that you could probably have a much more fruitful conversation with.
Right.
But this is kind of rolled downhill with some of the other employees in my team that I being kind of on the top of the director, if you will, I can kind of do a little bit of everything across the board for my company. But and so I find that I'm the person that they'll come to often with questions about things. And I'm starting to say, hey, have you asked ChatGPT first?
Right.
Not that I don't want to answer, but oftentimes ChatGPT will give a better answer than I could. So
Interesting.
with your team members, what are you doing for training and encouraging?
Yeah, well, my team members, we've been using various AIs even before ChatGPT was out. So we used some different ones back in the day. And well, actually, we were using the precursor to ChatGPT before it was out. Our team was. It's what OpenAI called the playground. and that was where you could use their different models at the time. And so we've always been training everybody on how to use these things, and I think everybody in the company uses them because it's important to train everybody because you want them to be more efficient. You need to stay up on everything, and training everybody to almost be problem solvers, rather than every problem come to you, at least if nothing else, they can come to you with, I have a problem, and here are, I think, really 3 good solutions that I've found. And then if you need to make that final choice, you can do so for your company.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. It's like, don't just come to me with a problem. Come to me with your potential solutions if you're not sure of what solution it is. So yeah, I mean, it's really been cool just to see the way that the team has really developed in the last couple of years, and just the quality of our product has improved in the last couple of years of using this technology. And something to talk, back to the people say it's got no heart, it's got no soul. But I love using.
I want to say this. I'm sorry. In some ways, there is an element of that, just like there's a richness to film, just like there's a richness to the human voice, hearing music live versus recorded, and there is, I'm sure at some level, some elements, certainly right now in the early stages, where AI doesn't give you that richness, but there is a tool element in which it's very practical, in which it's actually above and beyond what a human would do right now in maybe a shorter period of time where you don't have time. Or, look, this is allowed, just like, back to it, digital photography allowed people to up their game in photography. AI allows everybody to up their game in so many areas, which is going to make us all better for it.
Right. I mean, a perfect example of this is the album cover for the album that we'll be coming out with. We came up with a really cool concept visually, and I could have never explained it to a real artist the way that ChatGPT was able to give me an image that I'm like, wow, if I didn't have a hang up about using AI just for the album cover, then I probably would go with it. But I still feel like I'm a purist to the music, that I want to be able to have this actually drawn by a real hand and give an artist credit.
Right.
And but they're going to use the inspiration. That's a personal choice. Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, and that's fine. It's a valid choice. Using a person or AI, all a valid choice. Using digital film, a valid choice. You have to decide what is right for your project, and nothing is wrong with either.
Right.
Or
so, I mean,
or it can be. It could be wrong.
Well, I see a lot of, the internet backlash, and you seeing comments and stuff. And obviously, and I've talked about this in past episodes where, a bigger named artist, say Guns N' Roses, Smashing Pumpkins, Joe Satriani. Those are 3, for example, where I've seen them produce music videos where it's clear they're using AI.
Right.
And they're very simply using just one basic AI. And the comments, just people light them up, and it's justified for a few reasons here. First of all, these are all artists that have budgets, and, and when you're an artist that has a budget, you should be paying that forward and paying real artists to do your things. But,
well, especially if the quality of what you've produced is lower.
Yes, exactly. You've gone back a huge step. Whereas, I still can picture Slash, on a great lead solo in front of the church in the November Rain video. I could picture frame by frame of that video because it was artistically done. Right. I mean, that video was beautiful. And so, I still think there's going to be an art to music videos, but, I'm producing one right now. We have a single coming out, this Friday, so upcoming week. And I'm thinking about what AI disclaimer I'm going to put on the bottom of my caption when I do this, because a portion of this video was definitely created with AI. The imagery that I'm trying to create in this dream world and then putting that imagery to motion was certainly from, an AI tool. And it's like, should I even bother with a disclaimer? Or in my disclaimer, should I kind of just tell people, hey, listen, we're just 5 dads trying to make some noise, trying to keep the budget low. And if we didn't have these tools, then we would have released something really basic.
That's too much. But putting, maybe in collaboration with AI, put
Yeah.
something like that in there, and that's fine. And
Yeah.
if people call you out for some reason, you want to have a conversation and engage, then say that. Hey, we're just
Yeah.
five dads making music and having a good time. You
Yeah.
know?
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I get where some of the hate gets where people are like, anytime you think that we're just taking jobs from people, but I wouldn't have hired anybody for this in the first place.
Well, you're
So
right.
how is that much better? So
Yeah.
anyway, I digress.
Again, there's a time and place for it all, and in
Right.
knowing when, and hey, that's why you have an AI director. Figure out when
Yes.
is right and what the tools and the level of those tools can be.
Right. And if you're going to use an AI disclaimer or not, or anything like that. So, yeah, very good. So, I know, I want to hear a ton more about Leonardo, and we're not talking about the leader of the Ninja Turtles here. Uh, but yeah, tell me about that image creation process,
So,
please.
as you know, I've been creating a lot of videos lately. We're creating videos for the channel, and I kicked off a number of videos this week. It's gone well. And one tool that I came across that I'm like, holy carp, these they said it. They're like, this is all about process. This is about a better way to work within AI to get what you want. So if you're not familiar with Leonardo, it's one of the many AI generators out there. It's actually the one Canva uses. So if you didn't know that, Canva uses Leonardo. And so if you go over to Leonardo, they have a new tool that is what is it called? Flow. I am totally blanking on it. I don't have my notes in front of me. But anyway, if you want to look that up, so it's something Flow. And what it does is when you put your prompt in, it will then show you an infinite scroll of images
It's
based
called
off of your
flow state.
flow
Flow
state. Thank you
state.
so much. So
Yes.
with flow state, you put in your prompt, and if you say, a green car in a field, it's going to keep showing you different types of pictures of a green car in a field.
Hmm.
And then you find the one that's like, yes, I like that style. You click on that, and it opens it up to an infinite scroll of variations of that car. So after you can find another version of it, you can save some of them, so you can have different versions of that, and then you can click again and refine. And it usually doesn't take more than 2 or 3 passes to find the actual, because you have so many choices so
Right.
quickly, you can get exactly what you want. Even what you didn't know you wanted, but it's in line with the spirit of what you're going after. It really is amazing, and this is the next step. For a lot of these companies, I mean, Midjourney has been developing mood boards. We're going to have some videos on that. Personal boards are personality, which allows you to share your style of creation. With so the AI is kind of tailored to you. Midjourney's tailored to you. They're all going different directions. I thought this was one of the best ways to
Yeah.
go about it, because a lot of them, even like for example, Midjourney, you can take and have it create an image, and then you say, "Oh, I like this one." Then you can pin that one. You can put it in the prompt and say, "This is the model I want, so make everything look like this model." So
Right.
you can do things like that, but it's only going to give you another 4 variations once you do that. Once you add the prompt. The thing with Leonardo is when you put in that prompt and see the variation, now so maybe you've fine tuned to just the perfect image, except you'd like a little honeybee coming by on a flower next to your green car. I don't know, just something happening.
Hmm.
Just type that into the prompt. It will then add that, and now you
That's
have
it.
those variations. So
That's
that's the kind of
yeah.
workflow, and that's it. Workflow, not okay, do this now, wait 5 minutes. It is instantaneous. And I think that's part of it too, is that flow comes immediately. You're not sitting there waiting for 10 minutes for it to render. It's just, here's the next iteration. What do you
Yeah.
thought? Have you played with it a little bit? I know you knew exactly where it was.
Yes, yeah, and actually, and I'll give some info here to people just so you know the
Yeah.
levels of pay for Leonardo. They do have a free plan that's great for beginners. You can get 150 fast generations a day. and then you can train and retrain up to one model. And then it's only $12 a month to start, paying for it, and you get a lot more. You can get 10 full models that you can train and 8,500 generations in a day, where if you're going through more than that, that's a problem. But, speaking to somebody like me, who I do 85% of my AI stuff in the ChatGPT world, this is definitely an area that ChatGPT is not strong at, is the image creation. But like to what you're saying, is the same image but variations of it.
Right.
Oftentimes, when ChatGPT creates a new image, it's starting from scratch again, and
Exactly.
you're hoping
And
it's in
Dolly
the same
3 is
ballpark.
just so hyper
Yeah,
realistic, illustrative. It's not really
yeah,
a photo kind of image, And when
right.
I want to take that and run over to Kling and turn it into a video where that model, next to the green car in the field, walks up to the camera and smiles,
Hmm.
and then I realize, oh, I want a certain dress on her or whatever, or
Hmm.
I want the other model wearing a nice hat or whatever it may be. The thing is, you have those controls and you can get exactly what you want, and then you can use other AIs to ultimately create your vision if it's going beyond just the image, if it's going off
Right.
into video, for example.
Yeah, it's nice that you feel like you're at 75% the same starting point and then making small tweaks. Whereas like
Right.
ChatGPT, you're just hoping to get something close to it again, and it's going to take
Exactly.
a while. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna play with it more. I've got a few more concepts in my head for future music videos and stuff. So on my, personal creative side of things, but also on the work, we share a couple clients. One that's in the insurance adjusting
Yeah.
world. Certainly, some of their companies being affected by what's happening out here on the West Coast. Trying to create some tasteful images in that world that aren't really showing people suffering too much. But
But
yeah.
the time element, and that's kind of, it was actually working on Leonardo that really got that AI director concept
Hmm.
going again. And I looked it up, creative AI director, and I looked that up, as I said, in Google, and it was showing hardly nothing at all. It was
Right.
really struggling to show any example. And it may have been used passively a few times, but I think again, that's what you're going to do, and that's when I'm working in Leonardo. That's what I'm thinking I'm doing. I'm directing. I'm selecting. I'm making
Yeah.
choices, which is what art is. The choices you make along the way. And it doesn't mean it's good art or bad art. It just, those are the choices wherever you end
Right.
up. And so you have to direct the AI, and that's where it really just, it was Leonardo that really just made it clear to me.
Right. Even Bob Ross had to make choices of how to make those happy little trees.
Exactly right.
And on that note, I think we've covered enough for today. We are going to continue to keep producing content on the YouTube page. Rosh, a special thank you for your extra efforts in that ballpark.
Oh, it's
I'm
been
going to
fun.
say it now on the show because what gets said or what gets written gets done. I will be contributing to that channel, and some of my stuff might be a little more off the wall, different things I'm working on. So it'll be fun. Good variety.
Very good. All right. Well, we are two creative guys talking AI. We'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.